wakwaba edeba Pinax TV so Oman Penya ote Oman iso Nana Addo dankwa Akuffo Addo ene former president Ju.ju Mahama akwakoshia na bebia omukoshia the late Kofi Annan ejumedie bia na odi ansa na onyankopon eto ensa afre no na jumedie yato ne din Kofi Annan Peace and Security Summit na impenfo bebre efri countries ahodro na ebaye ema Mahama ne Akuffo Addo ekohia mu ewo honom na jumedie na se no na Akuffo Addo echiachia nkofo bebre odu we so anu ebisa ne se oho tesen ebusuafo ne odu we so bibia ye fine me hu wache na chese otimi so ochi obi an komedie eba omuntem na opre yakodu Mahama so de chese be man na Addo show boy eyi nani ato nchen na chese opra Mahama nsem a chese obia enti ase e na okọ next person so echia ne ye na ama NDC ni MPP for enti ase se adenti na Akuffo Addo ebe esa cause emra na Mahama eti ekungwa so no ochia Akuffo Addo ye ma ohu se nyonkofa ede e wo montem na omonti ase se Akuffo Addo de waba betena so na oye Mahama sa nti ye ne nkofo beye ne wo ho etwetwe nkomo bi so omo se asem ya ekwoso wadwenkyere e wo ho se na omo se eto de bia na se emre bi wo ho no ma se woni obi edi ako ana se woni obi pre e wo bibi ho a enwo se wonchia ne nsem bebre fise ebi wo ho akonim de bi wo nsem ana se tumi bi e wo nsem a otumi egi afi wo nsem nti enu nti na bia Akuffo Addo an sheda enchia Mahama ye fise next year 2020 election na ebe kwaso nche se Mahama pese oba back nti na se Akuffo Addo nso pese ono so ye sign to abama no ema ono Akuffo Addo nso pese ye to abama no ema osan etena so ena Mahama nso pese oba 2020 nti na Akuffo Addo pese obechia Mahama nsemu yie ma chese waba baji ne nkunim de botre bi video ne ye de ato aso no hwe na nso fa wadwenkyere ebra
I would like to thank Commandant Clifford Evans and the KPTC for organizing this forum in memory of my husband. As my late husband often said, there's much more in this world that unites us than there is that divides us. I wish you a very productive conference in your efforts to promote peace and security in Africa, something I know my husband would warmly applaud, and I'm sure his spirit is with us.
The theme for this forum, peace operations in the context of violent extremism in Africa, highlights the major priority of the contemporary agenda on our continent, which we must collectively confront, and which gives us cause to continue to celebrate the works of Kofi Annan, a man who spent his life making peace where there was conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, over the years, we have learned, most often through bitter experience, that terrorism and violent extremism are not restricted to particular geographic locations or jurisdictions, as the impact of a single terrorist incident in one part of the world resonates throughout the world. West Africa in recent years has become a hotbed of terrorist and extremist activities as a result of greater activism of groups operating in the northeast of Nigeria, the Lake Chad Basin, Mali, and the Greater Sahel. Endemic poverty and widespread disillusionment amongst youth in Africa are not only providing fertile breeding grounds for those who want to cross the Sahara Desert on foot and the Mediterranean Sea in rickety boats in the hope of finding a better future in Europe, but also for a new generation of terrorists and violent extremists. Despite it being a beacon of peace, stability, and democracy in a region that is plagued by the activities of terrorist and extremist groups, Ghana must know she cannot be immune from terror attacks. She is determined, however, to deepen the religious tolerance and peaceful coexistence that exists between the majority Christian and the minority Muslim religious groupings in the country. They are hallmarks of our nation, which we cherish. In aid of the global call to action against terrorism and violent extremism, Ghana has signed and ratified a number of international instruments aimed at the prevention and suppression of international terrorism. The contents of these instruments have also served as guides in the formulation of our counterterrorism policy, which seeks to prevent acts of terrorism in the country. The counterterrorism policy has led to the setting up of a counterterrorism unit within the National Security Council Secretariat to lead and coordinate our efforts in the fight. Ghana has adopted a well-coordinated interagency approach, which encourages the timely sharing of information and intelligence, operational coordination, and joint strategy formulation, and has proved essential towards ensuring the efficient execution of the country's counterterrorism policy. Ghana continues to establish closer ties and good working relations with security organizations in West Africa in a bid to improve the collaborative framework within the region. She's a regular participant in the meetings of the Committee of Intelligence and Security Services of Africa, CISA, and AU body. The quintet meetings, known as the Accra Initiative, involving security and intelligence heads from Ghana and her neighboring countries, namely Côte d'Ivoire, Burkina Faso, Togo, and Benin, are also held frequently to review and formulate joint strategies towards combating shared threats on terrorism and violent extremism. The shared nature of threats confronting West African countries and emanating from terrorist and extremist groups in the region demands the enhanced collaboration of all security actors within the region. That is why I, like many in West Africa, was happy that the leaders of Mauritania, Mali, Niger, Chad, and Burkina Faso, known as the G5 du Sahel, have launched a multinational force to fight armed groups in the Sahel region, with 1 battalion each from the 5 countries. The coordination of activities between the armed forces and the intelligence agencies of our respective countries is absolutely essential to a successful battle against terrorism. The fight against terrorism and violent extremism cannot be limited only to military means, vital as they are. Broader policies must also be put in place to create opportunities and jobs for our youth if we are to deal successfully with their root causes. Firstly, through education. We have as a matter of great urgency to ensure access to education for all our youth. We're told that 89 million young Africans of school-going age are not in school. That has to stop, and stop now. In Ghana, at great cost, we have, since my assumption of office in January 2017, instituted a system of free secondary education, which has increased enrollment by nearly 50%. From this month, when schools reopen, 1.2 million Ghanaian children will be beneficiaries of the free senior high school policy, the highest number of pupils in secondary school in our history. The cost of providing free secondary school education will be cheaper than the cost of the alternative of an uneducated and unskilled youthful workforce that has the capacity to retard our development and to pose a threat to the peace and stability of our nation. The terrorism and violent extremism constitute major threats to the very survival of our nations, and it is my fervent wish that we leave this year's forum with a renewed sense of purpose and a clear strategy which will help us win the fight against terrorism and violent extremism in Africa, and by so doing, guarantee continental peace and security essential to the socio-economic development of Africa. May God bless Mother Africa and us all. I thank you for your attention. I'm really very privileged to have the honor of cutting the sword today.
I would like to thank Commandant Clifford Evans and the KPTC for organizing this forum in memory of my husband. As my late husband often said, there's much more in this world that unites us than there is that divides us. I wish you a very productive conference in your efforts to promote peace and security in Africa, something I know my husband would warmly applaud, and I'm sure his spirit is with us.
The theme for this forum, Peace Operations in the Context of Violent Extremism in Africa, highlights the major priority of the contemporary agenda on our continent, which we must collectively confront, and which gives us cause to continue to celebrate the works of Kofi Annan, a man who spent his life making peace where there was conflict. Ladies and gentlemen, over the years, we have learned, most often through bitter experience, that terrorism and violent extremism are not restricted to particular geographic locations or jurisdictions, as the impact of a single terrorist incident in one part of the world resonates throughout the world. West Africa in recent years has become a hotbed of terrorist and extremist activities as a result of greater activism